Hello gamers, it's Mew. I've fallen behind on the Fnaf Gjinkas stuff, even though I've been working on them for a while. Cause, God, when I first started, the last video was in March. Had Freddy and Chica, and I've drawn a lot more since. We're only gonna do Bonnie today, and Foxy. And Golden Freddy. Okay, yeah. Okay. I did write their backstories into this script, but I might just skip that. I don't know. Anyway, let's just jump right into it. If you've seen the first video where I drew Freddy and Chica, it's been established that I'm not good with 90s designs. It does not really look 90s despite the research I attempted to do. So I just decided, well, I know more about 80s fashion, so let's just make Bonnie lean into that so I feel like I'm actually pulling something off. So I was looking at hair metal bands. What was the one? Guns. I think I was inspired by the members of Guns N' Roses for Bonnie. I also gave him teased hair to kind of mimic bunny ears, and he has buck teeth to mimic bunny teeth. And I also decided he should be Mexican. I don't really have an explanation. So, yeah. He's haughty, very competitive, a bit of a temper, and argumentative, but he's one of the cool guys, but the title's kind of disputed to be between him and Foxy. But he's also kind of a dork. I think before the 90s restaurant, he was probably more of a cowboy, and then Bonnie was made even more hair metal. Bow tie is just kind of a hold over from that era, even though I don't think cowboys really wear bow ties either. I like to think if it were up to him, Bonnie would just not wear it, but I don't know. I don't think they have a really strict uniform all that much. It just has to be specific color, and I guess the bow tie is part of the uniform. And I also know it's kind of a debate on if he's purple, but I don't care. He's purple to me. Backstory time. I have the Fnaf Gjinkas video. I forget if I went into the general backstory, but not his full on backstory. If I contradict myself, I'm sorry. Okay, so he was the son of a rising star, Spring Bonnibel Castillo, also known as the actress for Spring Bonnie. He also had a dad who was just a regular Joe. Bonnie was also trans, but he wouldn't come out until 13. But everyone was very supportive of his gender identity. While Bonnie is technically a feminine name, I like to think he just reclaimed it for himself. He loved music and learned guitar. Spring Bonnibel was catapulted into fame when she became Spring Bonnie. At Fredbear's, he met Frederick Jr., who was his best friend, and then when auditions were being held, he jumped at the chance to prove himself and show his skills, and he was super happy to learn he aced the audition. He had to hide being trans just to prevent controversy, because, this is the 80s. Times were different. It wasn't as accepting. Jesus Christ. My cat is just, climbing up my chair. Hello, Shadow. He got along, he was pretty, honestly, I think he was happy to hide being trans. He wanted to be stealth. He didn't want to be openly trans, besides the people who already knew him closely and wouldn't leak his secret. He got along swimmingly with Francisca, aka Chica, but he didn't get along with Fox. He always fought because their popularity, they were two of the most popular. I think the popularity of them just changed from time to time. But with the various incidents that occurred, Bonnie was deeply traumatized when he witnessed a child's death. While he doesn't like the thought of child murder, I don't think he really liked the child he was haunted with. They had clashing personalities, and he didn't want to be haunted, but couldn't find a way to make him pass on, so they just kind of had to make do until they could figure something out. during the years he wasn't working at Fredbear's. He tried to form a band or join one, but they didn't pay as well as he'd like, and he was still living at home. So to make up for the feeling of being a burden, he always handled all meals and chores at home, so at least it was worth having him living at home. And then the toys came out. Bonnie was extra pissed, the most pissed. Even after the toys also got haunted, he still didn't get along with the actor that played Toy Bonnie, but he was certainly sympathetic. But he was never friends with Toy Bonnie. When 1993 hit and they were invited to play their old characters at the restaurant with new management, Bonnie joined, though they later realized how shady everything is. Bonnie was also quite irate to learn that Chica and Freddy were dating because he had a crush on both of them. Also, he's bi. They're all bi. I think Chica, or Pan, bi. I don't know. I don't think Pan was a term invented yet. I don't know. But, he had a crush on both of them, but he waited to confess. But he later started dating to them, and then later on, he ended his rivalry with Foxy enough that Foxy joined, and they were just a polyamorous couple. Next up is Foxy. I was trying to attempt to incorporate, 90s pirates in his design, though with how Chica and Freddy turned out, that didn't go for quite as I wanted it to. Took a lot of inspiration from the 2003 Peter Pan live-action movie, though at the time, I didn't really research it. I just kind of looked up 90s pirates, and I was like, yep, I think that's 90s. Movie set was from 2003, not the 90s. But pirates are old-timey. I feel like they look really similar anyways, so I think it's fine. Also was having trouble figuring out how to incorporate the fox ears because I wanted him to have angular hair buns, but with the pirate hat, it wouldn't work, so the hat mimics, his weird fuzz at the top of his head, but also his ears. Pirate hat shape is so weird. I don't think it works as well as I want it to, but oh well. I can't draw hats. I'm sorry. I also think he's a huge pirate fanatic. The character he plays is a pirate because he's so into pirates. I also made his hair mimic Foxy's side fur, and initially I was leaning more towards super spiky hair, but I was very captivated by curly pirate hair instead. I do want to mention that his pirate hook and legs aren't just for show. Sort of. More on that later. Last thing, I also thought he'd have an extreme suntan. I felt I wanted to find a way to incorporate red-skinned Foxy, but not in a racist way, because if it's not a suntan, that it would be racist stereotypical depictions of Native Americans, and we're not doing that. So, but yeah. Fox McKinney plays Foxy the Pirate, and the person and the character are basically indistinguishable. I mean, the characters and their actors at this time, they're already pretty similar, but there's pretty much no separation at all. He's scrappy, fast, comforting, he has a good heart, bad at opening up, eccentric, and he adores kids. As for his backstory, he grew up on the streets until he was adopted by an employee of Fredbear's, and he was invited to audition to be Foxy. He was the only one that went to actual school because he didn't go to school for so long, so his schedule was just built around school. He was good friends with Francisca and Frederick, but he was in a rivalry with Bonnie, and when the incident with Afton's kid happened, this would be the stand-in for the bite of 87. At the moment, he just got a super bad Evan. He got a really bad brain injury because Michael Afton threw him at Fredbear. I don't know, but that incident, he felt mixed about it. But I think he believed that it was an incident that William didn't necessarily have much to do with, more so Michael. So he was able to move on and work at Freddy's instead. And then when the missing children incident happened, he was haunted by Fritz. I kind of had a bit of trouble figuring out the canon possessed kids. The only one we know is Susie possesses Chica. That's about it. I think he made life work best with the child he was haunted. He was kind of like an uncle figure to Fritz, and he made life exciting and comfortable for him as best as possible, though he definitely wanted to help Fritz move on. even though like he was able to manage it like the best. And the Five went on strike because Henry and Emily wanted to bury stuff. It closed for a few years. He had to live on the streets again because his guardian died. He became a pickpocket. He kind of fell out of contact with the others. I think when the toys were out, he was half bitter, half sympathetic to Mangle. I'm not sure what's gonna happen yet with her, because like that's a character that like is kind of difficult to pull off as not an animatronic, but like I don't know. The kids just love fucking up with her clothes and putting shit on her, but also maybe she also has like prosthetics, maybe? But I don't think prosthetics would go that crazy compared to Mangle, so I'm gonna have to figure something out. Anyway, once the toys also got possessed, he and Mangle became friends. He gave her advice. I'm not a Fangle shipper, but I do see the appeal. To me, though, in this AU at least, I think that they're just sibling figures. Until he got the job back in 1993 for the second iteration of Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria. Why they rejoined, actually, I think I said this in the backstory video. Henry Emily was like, okay, I'm gonna atone and I'm gonna be transparent at the past, but that also gave them a even worse reputation, more than they already had, so it failed. Sometime during those, like, that era, he lost a hand and his lower legs, and he tried to hide, because, keep in mind, I think this is before he revealed he was, like, homeless and stuff. I think Frederick and Francisco were absolute wrecks to discover, like, that he lost a hand and his legs. He was very trans. He did eventually open up about what was going on with his living situation, so he moved in, eventually joined the Polycule, and once that restaurant shut down, my script is kind of inaccurate, but, I mean, with that version of the characters, like, that was mostly it. I mean, they still kind of got involved with Fazbear's. Whatever, Fazbear's Frights, I don't remember if Foxy was actually an animatronic in that era. But, like, they could still use their characters, but they couldn't do, like, a full-on restaurant stuff for the most part, except for Fazbear Frights, but that's not a restaurant. But I do think they did sometimes still get kind of annoyed, but, like, they kind of accepted that Fazbear is just gonna do that, and it lost its magic, but they were still supportive to the actors. I'd like to think they go talk to all the newer actors and stuff just to, like, encourage them, and, like, I think, like, in the Security Reach era, like, when they're, like, super old, like, they get, like, interviewed and they tell, like, everything, or maybe, because, like, Security Reach, that, I think that restaurant also eventually shut down, so, like, I don't know when that is exactly in the timeline, just when they're, like, super old. Okay, Golden Freddy, he's in a gold suit, he has brown hair. Why did I say brown suit? He's brown tie and top hat. There's not much to say. This is just kind of a nothing burger design, because I put more into his character. Honestly, I think Golden Freddy's just, like, out of order suit of Fredbear, but to drop him into the AU, I had to do some changes. I decided that he was a knockoff of Fredbear. Legally distinct, though, because they didn't change enough, but he can't really work as often as the rest of the crew. He's played by Terry Dolmans, an up-and-coming be-the-star involved in TV, film, and theater industries. He probably got the job as, like, a side gig when his other work is slow, but he hasn't worked because he's got other work. But also, people hate him for replacing Fredbear. Even worse, I haven't designed him yet, but Fredbear will be a black man. I mean, it's not much of a surprise, because my Fnaf Gjinkas that's a black guy too. So this knockoff is played by a white man. So least favorite for many reasons. Terry Dolman's only got involved with Fazbear's in their second iterations. Not like the others. Probably would never get close to any of them. Freddy especially hated him, because, you know, he was playing character that got, he was playing a knockoff character of a character that got big because of his dad. I think Terry's actually a huge fan of Fredbear. At the time, I don't think he's really saw it as tone deaf, and he sees it as a great honor to a man that inspired him. Aside from that, he's quite haughty and vain and just not good to be around. And when the missing children incident occurred, he was deeply, deeply traumatized. It has nothing to do with Fazbear's. He was possessed by Cassidy, a 4-year-old who was extremely angry and made him have some erratic behaviors, and he hated Cassidy as another reminder of the incident. He did go on strike with the others, and they put aside the hatred they held for him, and they offered support for being haunted, and while he definitely appreciated the gesture, he never really spoke to them again. He put his past at Fazbear's behind him. He became more jumpy, hyper-aware, and he stopped being on a high horse and got more humble. He was catapulted into fame, and his past at Fazbear's was mostly left behind, though I think the odd interviewer might ask him about it, which would set him off. I do like to think in his old age, probably around the time of, like, when security reached that restaurant is closed, he does, like, do, like, a whole interview where he gives, like, a big talk on Fazbear's on his own terms. I said I'm contradicting myself a little, and I think he, like, acknowledges, like, maybe I, a white man, should not have played a black man, or a character made by a black man. And I also like to think he would do a reunion with the other 4, even with, like, the past blood behind them. They never become friends, but, like, they're on good terms, like, you know, after the reunion, like, if they were to encounter each other in person, like, it wouldn't be like, whoa, what the fuck? It would be chill. That's all for today. While you might expect me to jump onto the toys, I want to draw some humans. I'm gonna do the 5 victims. I'm not a fan of drawing children characters. I'll try my best. I'll do Michael Afton, Henry, Emily, maybe the rest. Oh yeah, and William Afton, and maybe the rest of the Afton family. They're not that important to this iteration, so I don't know. We'll see, I guess. Suggestions welcome as always. That is all. Goodbye.